When in doubt, we're baking. This time it's more of an experiment than a tutorial because we are making up the recipe as we go today. We're going to be attempting a cookie based off of an ice cream. Cookies are one of my favorite things to bake because you can play around so much with flavors and textures, and ice cream is honestly one of my favorite foods. So we're combining my two favorite things today. These cookies are going to be based off of the Graeter's Black Raspberry Chocolate Chip Ice Cream. And if you're from Cincinnati or you've ever been to Cincinnati, I hope you guys know the magic that is Graeter's ice cream. Easily in my top 3 favorite ice cream shops, and I am an ice cream connoisseur. I could give you a very long and very definitive ranking someday if you'd like it. Because this is so specific, I'm not sure there's going to be a recipe out there for it. So instead of searching for one, I'm just gonna make one. I think I'm gonna kind of have it mimic the base recipe of a chocolate chip cookie, but with some obvious modifications to try to match that flavor. My secret weapon in trying to match that flavor is Graeter's makes their own dessert sauce in black raspberry. I bought it last time I was in Cincinnati just because it's delicious, but now I'm gonna use it to try to match their flavor for their black raspberry ice cream. So I guess I'll give you a little rundown of ingredients in case you want to attempt this, but maybe wait till the end of the video to see if they're good before you start. What you're going to need for this recipe is a stick of butter softened, sugar. Today I'm using just granulated sugar because I feel like it lends itself better to picking up other flavors, whereas brown sugar has a flavor itself that it contributes to a dish, which I normally enjoy, but today I want the black raspberry flavor to just shine through. We're going to use just a tiny bit of vanilla extract, baking soda, flour, any flour of your choosing. I am using gluten-free flour today so that my mom can try one of these cookies because she has had the ice cream and I want her to weigh in on if I got close or not. Chocolate chips, use any that you'd like, but for me, I'm trying to match the flavor of this ice cream, and it has a very sweet Belgian chocolate in there, so I'm using full sugar milk chocolate chips instead of semi-sweet today. And of course, the Graeter's Black Raspberry Dessert Sauce. If you can't get your hold on this exact brand, just try to find some form of black raspberry dessert sauce or syrup, but make sure it's black raspberry because it's a very different flavor than a regular raspberry. Also today we've added a new item to our baking ensemble. In addition to our custom Darby's Kitchen apron, we now have this beautiful neck towel for our messes that doubles as pot holders, bought for me by my lovely granny. She said it would probably look much nicer than slinging a dish towel over my shoulder, and she's right. She's really here to support my baking fashion statement. She also bought me this apron and taught me how to bake. So you are truly watching this video because of her, so thank you, Granny. Alrighty, enough talking, let's get to baking. We're starting the same way I start all of my cookie recipes, with the creaming method. So we're adding our butter and our sugar to our mixing bowl. We're gonna use 3/4 of a cup of our sugar today. We're gonna put that on to mix until light and fluffy. You don't want to skimp on this step. Give it a good minute or 2 of mixing before you add any other ingredients in there. Now's where the guesswork is going to start a little bit. I am actually using the black raspberry sauce in place of egg so as not to add too much moisture into the mixture. So I'm going to add what I think is an egg amount into the batter, but it's not going to be an exact measurement. We're gonna start with that. We can always add more. We're just gonna keep an eye on the consistency. You want it to look like your normal cookie batter would at this stage. We'll give that a nice little mix. Don't forget to scrape down the sides of your bowl so you can ensure that everything is getting mixed together properly. I am gonna add just a teeny bit more to try to match the consistency of a normal cookie batter. All right, we've reached the consistency that I'm looking for and the most beautiful color. I normally say measure vanilla with your heart, and I'm still not going to technically measure it, but my heart says a lot less vanilla in this recipe. That's good. I really truly just want the black raspberry to be the star flavor here. Next, we're gonna add a teaspoon of baking soda. Next, we're gonna start adding in our flour. If you don't use a pre-sifted flour, please go ahead and sift that. We're gonna use about 1.25 cups of flour, but please add it in small increments and not all at once. Don't forget to scrape down the sides of your bowl. All right, we've reached the right consistency and a very interesting color. So last step before we put them in the oven is to add some chocolate chips. I'm using about 1/2 cup for this because I don't want to overload the batter. I always like to mix my chocolate chips in by hand. This has somehow started looking like the gray stuff from Beauty and the Beast, but the batter is done. Now let's see how they scoop. As always, I'm going to be using a 1-inch cookie scoop. This is just so I can ensure uniformity on bake times, but feel free to use a spoon if you prefer. Something tells me these are going to be very hard to tell when they're fully baked, so I'm going to have to rely totally on baking instinct on this one. This is me completely just guessing at bake time, but I'm gonna start the way I normally would. I'm gonna put them in for 6 minutes, and then at that time, I'm gonna rotate top and bottom racks. And then for the rest of the bake, I'm just gonna keep a really close eye on them, but I'll let you know what the total bake time was at the end, okay? It's not the most appetizing color, but it is delicious. Okay, our cookies are fresh out of the oven and I'm just moving them to a cooling rack to finish cooling. I ended up doing 6 minutes rotating them and then another 4 minutes, so a 10-minute bake in total, but please do rotate them in the middle. If you don't like a thin, crispy cookie, then this is not the recipe for you. I really like crispy cookies, and I think that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but that's just my preference. There are absolutely modifications you can do to make them chewy. You would have to soften your butter less and add more flour, but this is just my preference on cookies, so that's the way I made them. Alrighty, I think it's cool enough to try one. I know this doesn't look very appetizing, but it's so good. The black raspberry flavor actually mellowed out a lot in the baking, so it's a very subtle, balanced flavored cookie between the chocolate and the black raspberry. So if you're someone who likes a nice balanced flavor, this is exactly the way to make them. For me, I kind of like really strong flavors, like kicky in the teeth flavors. So next time I think I would add just a little bit more of the black raspberry syrup, knowing that the flavor will mellow out. But these are really good. If you are someone who eats with your eyes, these are probably not the cookies for you. But if you're someone like me who only cares that the flavor is good, then these should be right up your alley. Thank you guys for joining me in the kitchen once again and allowing me to experiment this week. I think it's so important to be creative and play around with food and recipes because you never know when you're gonna make something amazing. You might just make your new favorite cookie. So thank you as always for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe below, and tell me in the comments if there's any recipes you'd like me to try or anything else you'd like to see from me on this channel, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!